guys, and welcome back to the channel. For today's video we're going to be taking a fairly quick look at the Transformers Shattered Glass, Blaster and Rewind. Two pretty cool looking repaints. As you guys can see for the box art, we get some really cool images of the character here along the side, looking super sinister with those red beady eyes and that really cool looking red translucent cassette deck. We get the Autobot logo, which has been shattered in this brand new mirrored universe, and here along the back of the box we do get some pretty sweet product shots of both the character in robot alt mode as well as Rewind, and a very sinister bio. Blaster specializes as the communications expert for the Autobots. He has the ability to harness Earth's classical music as a sonic weapon to unleash upon his enemies. So really cool. Without further ado, let's shatter Blaster out of the packaging and see how awesome this repaint has actually turned out. And here we have Blaster shattered out of the packaging, and if anything, this pack kind of reminds me as to why I almost quit picking up the Shattered Glass figures, as in the case of this figure, he is way more expensive when in comparison to his regular mainline release, yet doesn't include any additional accessories, doesn't have any brand new retooled components, and overall I just don't think that you actually get your bang for your buck with this guy. Unless you're a diehard completionist of the Shattered Glass line, then I think this is an easy miss, and not even the colour scheme is that much of a draw if I'm going to be honest. I think the grey looks incredibly bland and boring, and I just think they could have done something slightly more interesting. But nevertheless, as we take a look here at the details for the head, I really think they could have given him a smirking expression that would have completely changed the game in my opinion. I'm very easy when it comes to retooling. Just give him a smirk and I probably would have been happy, but we do get some decent paint. I will say the black does slightly wash out the details. You can't really see the mouth all that well, but still it looks okay. I'm not the biggest fan of the grey plastic they've used for the body as well as for the arms. I think this could have been easily spruced up with some blue highlights or some metallic silver, but the sculpt work looks fantastic, especially where I presume the battery compartment for the cassette player would be in alt mode. But here for the cassette deck, this looks fantastic, completely painted in blue, cast out of red translucent, and if you wanted to recreate that 1986 movie scene where Perceptor does say, "Run, Blaster, save yourself," and then all of a sudden this Shattered Glass version comes into the equation, no way, two can play, and then he ejects Rewind, and instead of Rewind helping Perceptor, he actually helps the Decepticons and instead devours his face. I thought that was a pretty cool way that you could look at things, but nevertheless, as you guys can see, it's still spring-loaded, so we can eject this section here, which will cause his really nifty looking cassette bot to deploy, and I love the details. This thing looks fantastic. I really like the translucent red, the white paint, and the silver all looks great, and considering this actually transforms, I don't think this looks too bad at all. Now, transformation is still a nightmare. I have such an issue in actually prying the head out of this hollow cavity, so 9 times out of 10, you'll have to stick something in the back of the head just to pull this out. But once you've done that, it is pretty simplistic to rotate that around. We can then drop the legs down, rotate here at the knees, the arms just swivel and hinge outwards, and there we have Rewind transformed up into bot mode, looking pretty sweet. In particular would be the blue paint that we have here for the mouth guard, and they did actually go the extra mile to paint the eyes in red, so I guess that's pretty sweet, and the details also, especially here for the torso, look fantastic. So a nice inclusion, but I do just wish maybe they could have even given this guy an alternate head sculpt, or maybe just changed the mold slightly to help differentiate it from its original counterpart. But back to Blaster, as you guys can see, sculpt wise it looks nice. I do like the details, although the grey plastic here for the arms I'm not a big fan of, and I also don't like this deep dark blue that we have either. It just doesn't look very visually interesting in my opinion. There is some nice gunmetal here for the hips, and I think the legs actually look pretty sweet. The black plastic in my opinion looks way nicer than the grey that we have here for the top, and you can see the speakers here which all look great, and we do get the same Blaster which has been cast out of that deep dark blue, but also has been sculpted fairly nicely. So overall, in terms of a mold, it looks fantastic, but I just think when it comes to the color deco, and when in comparison to some of the future and even the past Shattered Glass figures, I do wish they could have given this guy something different, maybe an alternate accessory. I know they kind of cheaped out with the Shattered Glass Starscream, but at least they gave him a brand new sword, so I don't think that would have gone amiss with this guy. Now, in terms of a comparison, here we have Shattered Glass Blaster compared alongside the original version, and in my opinion, nothing beats the original. This thing looks incredible, and it is just a fantastic mold, so maybe if you're not all that keen and die-hard on completing your Shattered Glass lineup yet still want a blaster in the collection, any day of the week I'd recommend the original version. I just think it looks way cooler in terms of colour. So I believe that just about wraps it up here for Blaster when in robot mode. I won't bore you guys in regards to articulation as it's basically identical to the original version. So all that being said, let's get this Shattered Glass Blaster transformed from his robot mode into his pretty sick looking Boombox mode. And there we have Shattered Glass Blaster fully transformed up into his Boombox cassette player mode, and it looks fantastic. This thing looks awesome. As I said beforehand, I think the mold in general is fantastic, and this is definitely where the paint apps come out to play. Yes, this thing in alt mode looks fantastic. Had they given the robot mode as many individual details as we're seeing here, I think overall it would have looked a lot better, especially in terms of a visual perspective. But as we take a look here at the actual Boombox, I mean, come on, this thing is not only such a cool looking alt mode, but it's one of the best versions of Blaster of all time. I've been gushing over that Netflix Soundwave for the best part of 2 years, but I think as far as a Boombox / cassette player mode goes, this thing is the part. I mean, look at the side profile. There is barely any excess kibble. I just think the engineering on this thing is fantastic. We've got the battery detail here at the back. Would have been cool yet again had this been spruced up with some nice silver, but we've even got the handle, so if you wanted to transport Blaster through time, then you could definitely do that. I think the speaker detail along the side looks fantastic. Look at all of those individual dials and buttons which have been fully painted in silver. Why couldn't have we seen more of this in the robot mode? I would have loved this guy so much more than I do, but we do get the speakers here along the side. Overall, just a fantastic looking alt mode, and you can take the Blaster. As you guys can see, there is a slot here in the handle that will peg into this tab, so just snap that in there, and then as we bring rewind back in, push the Boombox buttons, and we can just slide this guy in so that Blaster can be channeling some of those classic tunes into the ears of the Decepticons in order to absolutely destroy them. Now, in terms of a comparison, here we have the Shattered Glass version alongside the original version, and here in this mode, to be honest, it's actually quite difficult for me to choose which one is better. I do just think that what ultimately lets this guy down is the grey plastic. Had this been another colour, had this been in red, I think it would have looked way better than how he's coming across, as even all of the dials and buttons were painted on this first version. I do think it's going to be something that comes down to personal preference. In terms of price point, I still do think the original is the best version, but be sure to let me know what you guys think. Do you think that this is a good repaint, or would have you guys liked to have seen something slightly better, maybe a more visually interesting colour palette, or maybe some brand new retooled pieces? And so, some final thoughts for the Transformers Shattered Glass, Blaster and Rewind. If I'm going to be honest with you guys, I think in terms of the price point that these figures are going for, I don't think when it comes to Blaster he's worth it. He's considerably more expensive, at least here in the UK, when in comparison to his original counterpart, and unlike some of the previous and future Shattered Glass products, he doesn't include any additional weapons, no brand new tooling. It is basically just a straight up repaint, and a more expensive repaint, and I don't even think the new colour deco warrants double dipping on the mould. So unless you're a massive fan of Shattered Glass and you actually really do like the colour deco, then I think you can give this guy an easy miss. I'd love to know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this figure. Is it one that's worth adding to the collection? Would have you guys like to have seen either a brand new head sculpt or just some form of new tooling, whether that be a brand new accessory, or do you think I'm being too harsh? Definitely be sure to sound off down below, and as always, I thank you all so much for watching. Until my next video, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.